All right, Greg Harmon back here with me, Matt Davio. Greg, 125-point rally in now 4.5 days from the Tuesday low. Little 12% rally, garden variety, 12% in 4.5 days. All's well in the world.
All's well, right?
So I'm a technician, you're a technician. A week ago, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 240, 60-minute, daily, weekly, monthly charts were all bearish. This morning, everything is flipped with the exception of the monthly and the weekly charts. I'm just talking the big picture indices here, broad coverage, broad strokes. So everything is bullish on the 5-minute up to the daily. Even the daily is showing bullish tendencies now. And weekly and monthly still bearish. So that's the way I see it right now, right here.
Yeah, seeing a lot of the same thing. Yeah, I get a lot of people that are asking me about that, especially with the Wall Street Journal article declaring that all technicians have said that the bottoms are in for the year and we're heading higher. Yeah, I'm not in that camp.
Well, I'm not. Yeah.
We need to get over 122 in the SPY before I get into that camp.
Yeah, well, so we're on the same page. 1250, 60. I've got to have 2 or 3 days over 1250 on the ES before I'm bullish, and that hasn't happened. So, again, the big picture, 1370 down to, let's call it 1070 for rough figures, 300 points. 60% of that is about 180, so we'll call it about 190, which again takes us up to about that 1270 level. That's the area where I'm looking for before I'm going to be, throwing my hat in and getting my, I still think we've got some work to go. I don't know if we'll necessarily test that low of 1068 again, but I think we've got to go down and test the low 1100s at least one more time. I think last time we talked, I was saying we need to close one time in the 10XX area. Guess what? We did that one time, and shockingly, it just turned on a dime. So, again, I'm not chasing this. I really have little positions. I'm waiting kind of for this 1200 level to swing short. Not there yet, and I may not get it, but that's where we are.
Yeah, for me, I've been putting on some long positions, but mainly very short term or options oriented, so that they're spread trades. I will go out and say that I was dead wrong yesterday. I bought SPY puts, weekly puts on the close yesterday, and got stopped out this morning.
Okay, are you going to re-enter those? Are you going to re-enter them?
I may if we don't go higher today.
Yeah.
And, looking at the 5-minute chart, I'm seeing a few topping tails coming up here, and we're having a hard time getting through 120.
Yeah. Yeah,
maybe at the end of the day.
This will be, I guess if you looked at a 60-day chart on the S&P futures, going back to, again, that initial breakdown level of about 1270, that 200 points, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's call this 6 now, lower highs, and we've continued to make lower lows again. So, you need to broaden your time frames, and yes, we're talking these smaller time frames from a 5-minute to a daily look bullish, but you got to go back to the weekly and the monthly, which just turned bearish in September. So that still overrides everything for me as a trader. I still have that in my mind, and I want them all to line up if I'm going to play one way, and otherwise I'm going to lean towards the bigger picture strength, which is still to the downside. So I tend to agree with you, unless, again, we can get over that 1260 area. Oil really, it's bounced here again from what did we get, 75s here to about 86 today. That continues to grind up with everything. Gold, not doing a heck of a lot. I still think gold's going to see 1400s here at some point. Any thoughts?
You think so?
I do. Any thoughts, on your end on gold and oil and these items?
Well, I'm a long-term bull on gold, and I do see that it seems to be in a pullback, but around 1500, 1505, I think is my level on that.
Okay.
Where I think it could still happen.
Yeah.
Below that, there's still a lot of room for it to be in a long-term uptrend. We've been going up for 10 years plus.
Right.
And back to that lower trend line is still a long ways below.
Right.
So I would still, it wouldn't change my view if we hit 1400s. but I see low 15s maybe. Oil, I've been bearish on oil. The bounce here off of 77. I thought we might get stopped around 84 to 86 level, but there is real long-term resistance at the 88.50 level.
Right.
So if we get above that, I'll change my mind.
Okay. So still bearish there, and good possible selling opportunity unless we get over, like you said, 89, somewhere in there. Stock Apple. Apple had a great bounce from again, technically the June low of 310 up to the high of 422. We pulled back right to the golden ratio, 354. Bam, right last Tuesday with everything else right there at 354. And it's rallied 50 points almost from there. I think you're getting back into sell zone myself on Apple, 400 to 422. Prove me wrong until you see a new high, but that's kind of how I see that chart right now. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of comments on my Apple chart. I see that the pullback came right back to the support level that had been going on from August. There's been a rising support level from August. Bounced right off of that, which is right near the 100-day.
Right.
My target had been 430 on a measured move from the last move higher, and it never got negated going lower, so I'm still looking for a move to 430, but certainly 420 has proven to be some stubborn territory in the past.
Okay. How about some other past momentum coffee favorites? Green Mountain broke down pretty harsh. Rallying here. I think this 98 to 110 level again looks like a short to me now that it's broken. We're sitting here at 94 today.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. This has been working really well using Andrew's pitchforks for me.
Okay.
Bounced the low came down and bounced right off the median line of my bearish pitchfork around 87. And is now stuck again between that median line and the lower median line of the bullish pitchfork. It never got below the trigger line to say just full out short this, but it got real close. So I'd say that it's got some room. It could even have room up to like 105.
Yeah, I agree.
But on the daily candles now are showing some topping tails on that too.
Right. How about a couple more, I think, kind of topping patterns, and you have a lot of these. They're past momentum favorites. You got Chipotle, you got Priceline. How about those two?
Yeah, I had recommended a short trade idea on Priceline about, I guess probably about 100 points ago.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's one of those names that can just fly.
Yeah.
So it's a dangerous one to trade. I like to play that when I play it on the short side to try and do with 1/2 ratio put spreads.
Yeah.
To try and avoid some of the pain.
I agree.
So my trade idea was, I see 475 as being, 450 as being strong support there. And on a crack of 450, I think that you can look for it to drop quite substantially. And by going out to say like 400 level as the initial put buy, and say like a 390 and then a 380 down below that, gives you a lot of protection and it makes it so you can get into the spread for free if you go out say around November time frame.
Yeah, I like that a lot. How about Deckers, CMG, a couple more retail names, for the folks out there today.
Yeah, CMG has been an interesting one too. I had talked to my subscribers about it a couple weeks back, pairing it with talking about it additionally with McDonald's and Sonic, which I think I see is more bullish than Chipotle. But Chipotle, I had told them at that point, maybe about a week or so ago, that I like it short, but I don't like it short a lot until it gets down to around the 300, 305 level where it's been hanging out now.
Right.
So back down again below the 150-day moving average. This thing I think does have some room lower, and I would look at it again as in because it's one of those momentum names. I would look at it doing it in a ratio put spread again. So find a lower level that's comfortable to you, and go down below that.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, play it wide and be conservative on it because the moves are so, wide either way. There's no sense in trying to time it perfectly, but this way you can be in if and when it does fall and you're protected on the upside also.
Exactly, yeah.
What do you think about the holiday season upcoming? Everybody in the media now is so bearish. Are people going to be out shopping in 2011 for the Christmas season?
Well, it's interesting. Costco is certainly putting forth a strong effort to try and attract people to do that. I think my wife's been there 4 times in the last 3 weeks, and she says it's Christmas there already.
It is. I was there yesterday. They have all the lights, all the trimmings for sale. They've had toys for sale. I think the last 2 or 3 weeks I've been there, and I'm a regular shopper at Costco, and I cannot remember September displays of Christmas, but they absolutely are pushing hard at Costco, and I think a lot of it is budgetary reasons to get people thinking a little bit earlier, and I think it's a different approach. Retail-wise for Costco to do that. They're thinking, okay, I got to put this thought in people's minds versus waiting for the traditional Thanksgiving rush. I'm going to try to get some of the money out of their pockets today so they can think about it budgeted. Do you think that's something that a lot of retailers are going to put forth?
Well, certainly if it works for Costco, it would be reasonable to think that other retailers would do that. When I take a look at the charts of and I've been playing like Family Dollar outlet for a while, Dollar Tree.
Yep.
Those stores may be a step below Costco in terms of the average shopper and their buying power. But those charts have been flying.
Yep.
Costco is now starting to pick up again. So it looks like the perception in the investment community is that they're going to do well. Whereas if you take a look at some of the higher end stuff, it's not doing quite as well as it had been. When a couple of weeks back there was all the discussion about divergence between the high end shopper and the low end shopper.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just popped up Coach and Tiffany real quick. A couple indicators for me there in that regard, Greg. And yeah, those charts are not. Clearly, there is some divergence between the two, I think, there. And, do you think there might be a pair trade there? Maybe sell the Family Dollars, buy the Tiffany's and Coaches? Or, is it big enough for you to play? Or not? It's kind of in that muddling ground right now.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of stuff that's in that muddling ground at the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a tough time. I mean, again, portfolio management would right now would have me sitting on hands quite a bit. You've got to be active, I think, in this market. You've got to be a stock picker. You've got to be a trader. You've got to be decisive and quick in your moves, I think, in this environment. I'm not fully loaded either way, and I think you're kind of in that same camp. You've got to be nimble.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah, I'm in my cash position is in the 70% right now. The trades that I have on are mainly option spreads.
Yep.
Looking for 1 to 2 week activity on them. If they give me what I want in a couple of days, I'm happy with that too.
And are you buying your spreads? You're selling. I'm doing more selling just because the premiums are high right now.
I'm doing buying at the moment. One trade we did yesterday was buying Activision Blizzard, breakout trade, and it's got some good upside potential. And yeah, I guess I could say maybe I'm somewhat similar to you in that what I'm doing is buying call spreads and selling puts against them, so doing a call spread risk reversal.
Exactly. Yeah. So same type of thing. You're limiting your downside, and you've got more upside than downside, and that's the way to play it in this environment. You've got to be careful in this environment. And again, if you're a pure technician, it's dangerous because again, if you pull back to those broader charts, it's not that. I'm not that impressed still at this price point or price juncture, if you will. because I tend to start wider and bring it in smaller. Now on the smaller,
I'm the same way. Yeah, and when, like you said, when you look at even on the weekly charts, we're still for all the equity indices, we're still in a bull in bear flags.
We are, very clearly, and that doesn't change. Really, I mean, if you want to look at the SPY, probably, you said 122, but it really have to be. You got even resistance up to 125 on that weekly chart. So
yeah, 122. You start to think about it.
Yeah, at least you start thinking about buying dips at that point. But right now, it's it's kind of like give me a little more rip, and I'll start putting some out and start putting the risk on to the upside versus the downside.
Yeah, and bonds just are not giving it up really hard either. They're hanging in.
Well, they are hanging in, but interesting. I know that, I didn't look at the 10-year today, but it was 127s yesterday. Had a little rally today, but you really did take out about 2.5, 3 months of longs. People that were chasing those breakouts there from August, really July until now. So now you're back to that kind of November of 10 high, and you're kind of basing here. And if this doesn't hold here at 128. We very clearly are. How much lower can you go? In negative rates, I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah. Well, that my proxy there is the TLT, and the TLT has certainly come off the highs, but it keeps finding support right over 115, and it's looks like it's sitting there the last couple of days now too.
Yeah.
For me to say that the broader equity indices are going to start to really fly higher, I would like to see a break of down below 110 on the TLT.
Yep. And then real quickly, Greg, on the commodities, we talked about gold to start, but the softs, again, big crush here in the last 2 months. We went from on wheat, we went from a high of 800 down to almost we dipped into the fives last week, and now we're definitely banging off that bottom today. We're limit up on wheat. Probably the same on corn. I haven't looked at it. So they're getting a reactive bounce here. But again, you take it back a little bit to a daily, weekly chart. These are very bearish looking charts, and I wouldn't be a chaser. I'd be looking at levels to sell on the commodity stocks. And I guess
on the stock side, I look at the corn ETF, corn.
Yep.
It's had a real strong move today, up nearly 4% right now. But all it did is close the gap that it had opened up about a week and a half ago.
Yep. Mosaic, Monsanto, your thoughts there? Those are other stock names in those areas. Kind of looking the same to me. They're bouncing off of a hammer here. It could like Mosaic could get up to say 61. I'd be a seller up in that area again.
They've all been flyers. Agrium, Mosaic, Potash, CF Holdings, Terra Nitro. They've all been real flyers, and started looking tired a little bit a couple days ago. Did pull back a little bit, and now look like they're ready for a little bit more even.
They're pushing hard again. I think a lot of it is driven by the actual underlying commodities are ripping today, limit up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. I think that's kind of an overview. That's where we are. Lion's 5-0, Michigan 6-0, Tigers down 2 to the Rangers, but coming home tonight in the comfy confines of Comerica. So we'll be hoping for a win in Game 3 and possible comeback. But tough game.
My Browns had a good week last weekend.
What's that? The Browns, yeah.
My Browns had a good week last weekend. They were off.
I'm telling you, the Lions are for real, and it's not their offense that impresses me. It's their defense. Jeez. God. Cutler last night, he's got to be sore today. He was just getting pounded. That poor guy. He was just getting pounded. So, anyways, that's it. We'll be back, I'm sure, with you again in a couple weeks. Thanks for your time, and appreciate your input as always.
All right, thanks, Matt. Good to talk to you again.